wanted to ask you about the homeowners, the taxes on the house. Like we own our own home.
Right.
And the house is assessed for much more
Right.
than we would be able to sell it for. Is there anything that can be done about it?
Probably not, unless you want to have it assessed on your own, which is a whole other situation. Probably not. As a matter of fact, you know, depending on how honest your real estate broker is. I mean, are you trying to sell your home?
No.
Okay, good. All right, stay here. Don't go
I just
anywhere.
want to pay less taxes.
You want to pay less taxes. Everybody wants to pay less taxes. Again, the city is hoping that in 2 years, it will even itself out and they'll make up the difference. Robbing Peter to pay Paul is an expression that I use, not one that the city's using. But, you know, unfortunately right now, you're either going to wind up paying the same, maybe even paying more. I doubt it on Woodhaven, but in some communities, they're actually going to wind up paying a little more. It is wrong. You're absolutely right. It's wrong.
Excuse me, I just want to correct something. You can go to the Department of Finance on Archer Avenue and appeal it.
Oh, yeah.
And you can tell them that the price of the homes have gone down. You can get some comps from the real estate brokers to show the difference in prices, and they will lower your taxes, because I've been with a number of people there recently, and they have lowered home taxes.
Lou will help you with that. He'll come down and assess your house.
I'll be glad to help you go with you. I didn't say I could access it, but I'll be glad to go with you to Archer Avenue.
He's a jack of all trades. Maria had a question.
What is the feeling in City Hall in regard to mayoral control and this stalemate in Albany in regard to the 3 days to go?
Three days to go. Very interesting. Mayoral control sparks a lot of heated passions with people in the city, obviously. You have people that are very much vehemently opposed to it. Some people that sit on the Charles Barron, for instance, is very much opposed to mayoral control. I know Councilman Jackson, who heads the education committee in the city council, he's expressed some very serious reservations about mayoral control. But I think at the end of the day, you know, reading the comments of people who have very serious reservations about mayoral control, like Randy Weingarten, the head of the UFT, people recognize that there is value in holding somebody accountable for the city's schools, that we can actually hold the mayor accountable for the success or the failure of our public school system. Whereas before, when we had the school boards, it was like, you know, the gangs shoot at Junction City. Everybody was pointing a finger. It's his fault. It's her fault. It's the superintendent's fault. It's the principal's fault. There was a massive bureaucracy with many, many layers of ineffective leadership. And I think that people lost trust and lost faith in that system. And that's what led the state legislature initially to begin mayoral control in New York City. Now, has it been completely perfect? I don't think so. I think there's a lack of parental input. I think that that's something that's being taken to the state level. We have these community education councils now, which are made up of some very dedicated volunteers, but unfortunately their roles are not clearly defined. They have no role in terms of policy making, or they have no real role in making sure that certain things are enacted in certain schools, and some people have accused them of being rubber stamps for the Department of Education, and that they're useless. I don't think that they're useless. I think that we can make them better. What I'd like to see personally, I would like to see mayoral control renewed, but I would like to see improved. I'd like parents to be involved in that process. Like Hillary Clinton said, it takes a village to raise a family, to raise a child. It takes teachers, it takes parents, it takes administrators, it takes the community, it takes everybody involved to make sure that a kid can go from one grade to the next, and that they can progress in reading and math and science, and that they can eventually go through the system and become productive citizens. If we're missing one peg, if we're missing one spike in the wheel, it's not going to work. And right now I think that the role of parents has been diminished under the current system. I think personally that the legislature, if they do renew it, which I hope that they do, will include provisions for that. The other thing is checks and balances. Right now, all of the decisions are made by the mayor. And, you know, you can't run the Department of Education like you run the police department. It's just not the same, although some people would have you think otherwise. We have to have checks and balances. So on the citywide board, instead of the mayor controlling all of his appointees and then deciding the policies, maybe it's a good idea that the city council have a role in appointing a few members. Maybe the city's comptroller appoints a few members. These are compromises that are being tossed around in Albany. I'm hoping that the situation up there can be resolved, that everybody can get back to the table. And again, the Democrats and the Republicans will sit down and say, this thing is going to expire. We can't go back to the way things were. We have to move forward, but the only way we're going to do that is when we work together. And if we don't, Like somebody else said, the only people they're going to lose are the children, are the schools. People like us in the 5 boroughs, not people upstate and not people in Long Island. So that's something that we have to keep in perspective. Thank you. Any other? Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'd like to now actually introduce...
If I forgot to mention, how silly of me, my kindergarten teacher is here, Barbara Marticello. PS 63, she was a great teacher. I think she was in the same class in the same school for over 30 years. Right? And she's now retired, but she's really a terrific lady, so give her a round of applause.
That's great. That's great. I'd like to now, we're going to try to move